What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Book Club Enola Holmes, the case of the missing Marquess. Today, we are discussing chapters 7 and 8, I hope. I have some guests, our amazing panel. I'm going to bring them in. First, we've got Russ. What in the world with Russ? Back with us. So excited to have you back, Russ. How you doing?
Doing okay.
It's good. Good to hear. And next, we've got the... there's words that I can't use here, but we've got Tracy Glenn, book club extraordinaire, and we've got the amazing Gina, aka Classy Disney Mom, in the chats. Welcome in, Gina. Good to see you.
You too.
And we've got Investigative Bear. I love that he changes it every time. We got Mr. Tim Pruitt. Cracks me up. It's good to have you guys here today on this beautiful Monday. Are we ready to discuss Enola Holmes?
We are.
Yeah. Talking about corsets today, I think.
Yeah.
Part of it.
Muscles.
Hi, everybody in chat.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. All right, let's get to the chat while we're on the subject. Before we keep going, we've got Tim Pruitt also in chat.
Oh,
Welcome
yeah.
in. Annie Coog, good to see you, Ann. Never be sorry. No. Richard Blumencheese, welcome in, Bloom. Oops. Annie Coog, I'll welcome you in twice. Hey, Ann, how you doing? Katrina Scalpini, hello. Hey, I miss Russ. And behold, he is here. Kim Stolworthy, welcome in. Good to see you. And I'm all caught up. I mean, chapter 6 and 7. Okay, so we're on chapter 7 today. We start with 7. If we get to 8, we get to 8. If not, chapter 7 was pretty jam-packed. I love these two chapters. I will say that. I loved these. Like, I like put myself as her in these two chapters and lived it. Like, I loved it. So I'm so excited to discuss them. Does anybody want to say anything before we start? Any thoughts on chapter 7, or do you want to save it till the end of the chapter?
I'll save it for now because I think if I start talking about it, I'll get too deep.
Yeah, I think
for a pre-win, forward, whatever.
I got.
Come on, Tracy, you're out and have something to say this afternoon. You look like you're half asleep, or you're busy.
I'm doing two things at once.
Nah.
Did you read, Tracy?
Yeah, I read.
Nice. Okay, just making sure. All right. So the beginning of chapter 7, or chapter the 7th, starts off 5 weeks later. She says, "I was ready." So now we're like, what was she ready for? And what took 5 weeks? Holy cow! We're gonna find out. So,
Hey, Zip.
Hey Zip.
Hey Zip. His
So
life is a book. Is it an open book or a closed book, though, Zip? Because there's rumors you have a closed book life, too.
Uh-oh. We're breaking out the rumors now.
Uh-oh.
All right. So, was somebody going to talk? Did I miss someone? No? Okay. All right. So, we start off with she's still at Ferndale Hall, and the seamstress from London has arrived. I already feel bad for this poor girl, and we're going to find out why. She settled herself in a long vacant room, once occupied by a lady's maid, sighed over the old treadle, whatever that word is, sewing machine, sewing machine, and then taken my measurements. So she's measuring, and she's making comments. Waist 22, tisk, too large. Chest 21 inches, tisk, far too small. This lady is like I kind of wanted to jump through the book and be like, leave her alone. She's 14.
See, we only think all this body shaming stuff started. I mean, sometimes it feels like it's a new thing, but it's not.
Oh,
exactly.
It's been around forever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Hey, Mike.
Welcome in, Mike. I don't know which Mike. I can't see.
Cynthia's here.
Look at the book.
Mike Wheeler.
Yeah. Mike Wheeler. Okay. I'm waving Mike.
And hello, it's Joey's World.
Hey, Lisa.
What's up, Lisa? Hashtag Joey rocks.
I like that. Okay, so she's dressing her up. She's sizing her up. She's measuring her, I should say, to fit her for nice womanly clothing for boarding school. So this part I didn't understand, so maybe someone can clue me in. The seamstress located the following advertisement: amplifier, ideal corset for perfecting thin figures. So she spot an advertisement in a newspaper, I'm assuming, and then
what it looks like.
ordered the corset,
Mhm.
and then okay, so
Yeah, because back then, and that's how they would get their stuff. Was, I mean, they would find an advertisement in the newspaper or in a magazine,
For a Sears and Roebuck catalog, if you live
and
here.
mail order it. You know that.
yeah,
That's the way that it worked. So
okay.
Well, and this seamstress is from London, so she may have had the people she dealt with or something, but she's still using this ad to pick from, I guess.
Well, regardless, it says money returned if not satisfied. Avoid worthless substitutes. This device was duly ordered, and the seamstress began to produce prim and dim-colored dresses with high whalebone ribbed collars to strangle me. I love that.
Everything's about torture with this girl.
Yes, exactly. And it cracked me up. Waistbands designed to choke my fashionable publication my mother would never have allowed in Ferndale Hall. Whoops, nope. It didn't continue.
Hey, Garrett.
Waistbands, hey Garrett, designed
and,
to choke
and Dave.
my breathing. Hey Dave, good to see you. And good to see you too, Garrett. The skirts, which spread half over a dozen flounced silk petticoats, trailed on the floor so that I could barely walk. Her descriptions are absolutely hysterical. So she proposed to sew 2 dresses with a certain amount of length, waist, whatever, an expectation that as I grew, I would diminish. She's making this dress smaller than this poor girl is. Meanwhile, increasingly terse telegrams... Corset, yeah. Increasingly terse telegrams from Sherlock Holmes reported no word of mother. He tracked down her old friends, even went to France to look at family relatives, to no avail. So, mother's still on the loose. Don't know what's going on with her. So her thoughts start to trail off. You know, what if her mother really was in trouble? And then her thinking changes upon the seamstress completing the first dress. So, she was expected to. Now she talks about her hair. She was expected to wear her hair in a chignon secured with hairpins that dug into her scalp with the fringe of false curls across her forehead. And I love this part. This is one of my favorite parts. She says, as my reward, I got to put on my new dress and in new shoes, just as torturous, toddle around the hall to practice being a young lady.
See, I can relate to this because not being a girl, but when I was growing up, the worst thing my parents could ever do to me was make me dress up. I hated to put on suit clothes or, in fact, I only own maybe one suit to this day. I've never been one to dress up, and a collar and a tie. I always felt like it was just a noose. So I can kind of appreciate some of that. I never wanted to dress up either. A different situation, but similar. Yeah. Yeah. And these corsets, I love the description of the corset. All the good things it's doing for her. I mean, has soft and lightness and comfort, and I'm thinking it's anything but any of that. Whalebone stays, and they pull you down to, I've read stories where they cinch you down so much it actually deforms your ribs over time. That's why I think that's kind of why she says over time she'll get smaller, because it literally would shrink that part of your body. Yeah. It's crazy what people did to each other. Go ahead.
I was going to say that was the fashion back then.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Everything was about your status.
Yeah.
In society, and so if you didn't look a certain way, then you didn't belong. So,
what were you going to say, Gina?
Oh no, I was going to say I remember when if you guys watched Pirates and she fainted backwards and went into the water and was like, oh, this is too tight, and she was like, and when that advertisement, I mean, obviously I felt bad for her, and even though it was some comical, I said to my husband, well, it's kind of like when she kind of went backwards into the water because she couldn't breathe because of the corset. So that's what I thought of.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, says Tracy can give you some dress clothes.
You talking to Tracy giving me some dress clothes? I doubt they'd fit, but I appreciate the offer.
I don't know what that was.
Tracy might not be willing to do that anyway.
He's got that one suit jacket that he wears down by the river. So
yeah, that's true. And Gary says, I thought you were gonna say you dress up like a girl, Tim. Phew.
Come on, Garrett. Stuff we talk about in private's not supposed to be exposed here.
Yeah. And Anne says, yes, Gene, I've been thinking that all through this. Yeah, me too. That's the scene that I always go to. Cracks me up. Adventures by D, welcome in. Dave and Chris. Let's see what else we got. We've got I love my curves and my mommy tummy. I don't think I could do it wearing a corset back then. Yeah. I wore a corset under my wedding dress. That was the last time I think I've worn it, and the only time that I have worn one. And they're no joke at all. All set with that. Welcome in, Chris. What I missed? Tim dresses up.
No.
Yeah, we're not gonna start that rumor.
No.
Garrett, oh gosh, Garrett.
That's called a bro. It's the brosier.
It's a brosier.
See, Garrett, I didn't say a word about that.
Oh, that's gonna be a soundbite. Okay. Carrying on. Oh my gosh. So, where were we? I have to recompose myself now.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Mike says you ain't wearing a corset right unless someone has to stand on your back to pull the strings.
That's true
tighten
too.
it up.
Mike, that sounds like you're talking from experience.
Was it true that they used to have like a crank thing that they tighten them up with, or is that just something I've seen in movies? You know what I'm talking about? I've seen them where they strung them through like a spool and cinched it down.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
That is torture. I don't see anybody survive that. Yeah. And men did it too, though. You know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was a fashion trend for a while where men wanted to be hourglass shaped too. And some men. I don't know what men, but
I don't know why. Men? No, I'm not going there. Okay. Let's carry on because that's.
It's all right. Garrett or Chris will go there in a minute.
I'm having flashbacks to this conversation that I had with a guy friend at one point, and we were talking about the difference between guys and girls' bodies and how different they are, and the praise of a woman's body. But it's like, men have. I'm just gonna stop because that's gonna be a soundbite. Okay. So where are we? We are. Meanwhile, my brother Mycroft sent a telegram reporting that all was arranged. I was to present myself at such and such a finishing school, and she puts in parentheses, House of Horrors, which also made me giggle. At such and such a day, instructing Lane to see to my getting there. So she said she spent her days as she could in the dressing gown, keeping to her room and napping. And Lane comes in. She sends for doctors because she's wondering what is wrong with this girl. And she says to Mycroft, this girl could benefit from the boarding school. It would perk her up or whatnot. And we find out why she's so tired. We could probably guess. She's spending her nights when everyone else is sleeping.
Preparing,
exploring her mother's room. Oh, kitty. Exploring her mother's room and deciphering the different the codes. And so each cipher, she says, I unraveled led me into Mom's rooms and search for more riches. She had. Go ahead, Tracy. What were you going to say?
No, go ahead. I was just going to say the word that you were having fumbling for.
Thank you. She says some of the ciphers that she could not solve. There was a page in her cipher book decorated with ivy trailing along a picket fence. So now she wants to she's trying to decipher this ivy code. So she stumbles in her mom's room to look for the ivy on the painting, and she has these letters that come up, and she says, what in the world? She looks up ivy in the meaning of flowers book, which means the clinging vine stood for fidelity. So she's looking, and she's I'm stumbling again. Then I noticed how Mom had painted the ivy zigzagging in a rather unnatural manner and up and down the picket fence. Also, the ivy grew from right to the left. So she figures she followed the same pattern finally unravels the cipher and says, "Knob's bed, my in look Enola." Rearranges the words around. "Enola, look in my bed knobs." She looks in the bed knobs, and she finds another astonishing amount of paper money, because
She didn't say how much in that one, though, did she?
No, she didn't. She just said an astonishing amount. So yeah, so she says, "I, in my turn, had to find clever hiding places within my bedroom so that Mrs. Lane occasional invasions with dust cloth would discover nothing. So she's having to hide these clues that her mom's setting her, or left for her, I should say, in these little nooks and crannies of things. Altogether, my nights were far more active and satisfactory than my days," she says.
Yeah, we're about to learn they were even more active. She was doing a lot of stuff at night.
Yeah.
I would like, they didn't say, but I'd like to know how much of Mycroft's money she found. I mean, since it was kind of, right. Mycroft's going to think it was his anyway.
Well, exactly. And you know what? It's going to get interesting. So, but truly at this point, not much of an explanation was needed as to why her mom never left a farewell note or anything. Excuse me. So she says, "I knew that she had practiced her deceptions for my sake, at least. I knew the money she had given me so cleverly slipped to me was meant to give me freedom." Well, yeah. Well. But thanks to Mom, therefore, it was in a surprisingly hopeful, if nervous state of mind that one sunny morning, late August, I mounted to the seat of the conveyance that was to take me away from the only home I had ever known. So here we go. She's packed. She's suited up. She's getting ready to go in a carriage to boarding school. And I use the parentheses because we're going to find out why. Any thoughts so far before I continue on?
Yeah, something was said. I want to back up just for a minute. I have to find it first, though. I had it marked here somewhere.
Go for it.
Hey, Walton Kelly.
It had to do with where Mycroft was talking about. He talked about eating. Miss Lane had complained because she didn't eat and all that, and being tired. And he had said something or the seamstress did about soon she'd be at boarding school and they'd be. Oh yeah, she's talking about people invalids wasting away. But soon she'd be at boarding school where she would have breakfast upon oatmeal and wear wool next to her skin, and that would restore her health. And what do you think the wool next to her skin was? That just
a comfort
just
thing? Because
of the clothes they wore, or is that to teach them discipline in some fashion? I don't know. I mean, wool back then was probably itchy. I know a lot of stuff was made from wool, but it sounds like they were. I don't know. I just thought that was an odd little thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. They might have had uniforms or something that they wore.
Could have been.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't think they would have made undergarments from it, though. I wouldn't have thought.
What, wool?
Wool. You think so?
Well, they probably used wool for a couple different reasons. One, it was a natural fiber, so you really you had no synthetics at this point in time in this history.
Well, right, I understand that. I happen to be a wool fan, so I know that. But next to her skin, it was pointed out for a reason. I thought
maybe for the fact that when you think about wool, I mean, obviously cotton is cotton, but wool, it because you're uncomfortable.
That's what I was wondering.
It's that whole upper class. I'm not 100% sure the upper class that you can ignore the itchiness and the discomfort.
Maybe that's what I was wondering, if that was what it was for, sort of a discipline thing. You learned to deal with it, so therefore you were. Maybe that's why British are so stoic and with a stiff upper lip or something. I don't know. They were wearing wool underwear. I would be too. And wool was probably pretty common. I mean, like I said, it's natural. But it's also good for damp, cool weather, which England's pretty well noted for fog and rain and all that.
And I'm assuming that wool was much more prevalent than cotton. Mm-hmm. Where cotton had to be grown, wool was sheared.
They imported all their cotton.
In Britain, there are sheep everywhere. So,
I mean, that's why the UK backed the South in the Civil War, is because they wanted to buy our cotton.
Mm.
And then later on, they were getting it from Egypt and other places. But keeping cotton in their factories and linen mills and whatnot up there was a big deal. Of course, that was something else. They used linen, which is made out of flax.
Yeah,
it's a different material. I don't know if anybody'd come upon the idea of using hemp for clothes yet. Probably
They have.
They were using it for rope back then. I know
They make hemp clothing right now.
they do now. Yeah, I don't know about back then. They used it for rope back then.
It's a natural fiber, so yeah. I mean, there are a lot of natural fiber rope.
Yeah, supposedly makes really soft clothing. I don't know if I've had it or not.
What? Any hemp?
Yeah, hemp clothing. It's supposed to be really soft. Well, no, don't go. I'm not going there, Tracy. That's not what I mean. You don't roll it up and smoke it.
This shirt's real good, man.
Yeah, I got my shirt on fire, dude, but it's really cool. Watch it burn.
I thought this chapter was interesting because it does give you a little bit of prep and what women or young women had to go through.
Yeah,
in their life. Where, when she describes Sherlock, she describes Sherlock a couple of chapters ago about being, thin and whatever, and Minecraft was a little bit more chubby around the waist. So here we are having a total different atmosphere or an expectation out of the two sexes, where one, they're expected to have thin waist, and when she was measuring her hips and she was measuring, when the seamstress was measuring the hips, waist, and chest area, she was discouraged by all three because they wouldn't fit the model of what was in this era's.
Anybody reading chat?
Yeah.
And he said, wool underwear is probably also the creator of Going Commando. I suspect you might be right.
Oh my gosh.
She might be right about that. Yeah, it's also a discrepancy not between just the men and the women, but here you have, because in this case, Mycroft expects her to act like a well-to-do society young lady versus common lady. Mm-hmm. So there's not only is it a split between the men and the women here, but there's also this discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots. Mm-hmm. These women are expected to do all this stuff and wear all these clothes and the corset things. And you go to the countryside, and you're not going to see that because people are wearing clothes they can work in. They're not wearing corsets. They're not concerned about that, which is kind of how she grew up. I mean, she wore knickerbockers all the time. That was her favorite clothes. So,
well, again, of course, I haven't been here for the rest for before now, but Minecraft has never really cared anything about Enola. I mean,
that's true.
The little sister who. She's never been a part of his life. He doesn't care.
Well, he's 30 years or
and he's also kind of, he's quite upset with his mother for the way that she has raised Enola to not be a lady. She's let her become, her become the way she is, and more free spirited. So
I had to look up what knickerbockers were. I had an idea, but I wasn't 100% positive.
Pantaloons.
I mean,
well, but they're outside. But these are outside worn. These are just like pants. I mean, that's our pants today. Now, but they did wear knickers beneath. That's a common term for UK for ladies' underwear.
For like the white frilly things that they would wear under the dresses, right?
No.
Yes, or pantaloons
in this
or
book,
whatever.
when she talks about wearing knickers or knickerbockers, you're exactly what you showed. The knickerbockers, the pantaloon, the riding crop. It's something that they would have worn when they were riding horses, or men were riding horses.
They're the comfortable pants, like a pair of shorts, you wear now.
But they still would not. They would still cover the ankle.
And you still see, well, stockings did or something if they didn't. I mean, the pants, the
pantaloons.
No,
pantaloons is what's underneath.
Yes, the knickerbockers would go below the knee, but they would have stockings on their lower legs.
Correct.
Yeah.
You still see occasionally a golfer that wears.
There was only
knickerbockers.
One golfer in the modern era who's already passed away.
Yeah, he got killed in a plane crash.
That was the style of golfing.
Yes.
Knickers, collar tees.
Okay, what's
Garrett wants to know if we're shopping, since I'm so confused right now.
Garrett's trying to get us back on topic.
Garrett? Okay, Garrett. We'll have to have a talk about this later, young man.
Get the point. Okay, all right. So where were we? Did we leave off where I left off, or did you carry on?
No, we waited. We were talking about the clothing stuff.
She's getting ready to get in the buggy, so.
Okay. Mm-hmm. She's getting ready to get in the buggy. And she was to travel to the railway station in comfort, if not in style, she says. Mrs. Lane says, I hope it doesn't rain. And Lane says, no, okay. And Lane says, there's not a cloud in the sky. She says she drives off, and she was looking at the horse's ears because she doesn't want to see the landscaping that Mycroft had ordered around the area, taking down her rose bushes. So she gets to the gate. The gatekeeper, Cooper, says, goodbye, miss. And she says, bye, Lane. Bye, Cooper, and drives off. So she gets so far, and then she drives. She gets, obviously, to her father's gravesite and says to Dick, the driver, she says, can you stop the car? The car. Oh, gosh. The carriage, whatever this thing is. I wish to say goodbye to my father. She wants to go visit the grave and say bye. Wink, 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 because we know she's not really doing that. But I love this where she says, I'm going to find it. Okay. I let us trot almost past before I said suddenly, as if I had just that moment thought of it. So we know this is pre-planned.
Yeah.
I wish to say goodbye to my father, So he pulls the horse to a cut, and she tries to bribe him or kind of manipulate him. Distract him and say, you could go over to the pub and have a drink and be back in 10 minutes. And she says, nonsense. I knew he'd be a half hour or more in the public house. Public. Is that why it's called a pub?
Yeah.
Yeah. They call them public houses. And I don't know why that is. I guess it's because you had public houses where the common, everybody went. And then if you were well-to-do, you went to the clubs, the private gentlemen's clubs.
They were kind of like, they were the inns, or they were the public houses where the workers would go and hang out after work, or, that was what they did. So.
Because gentlemen would go to gentlemen clubs.
Right.
Oh. Okay.
I wanted to go back because the description of what she's wearing is also kind of important.
Go for it.
She talks about how she chose a nondescript taupe suit to wear, and that she had chosen something with a loose waistband so that she could not have to wear her corset as tight.
Right.
And so then it also had a jacket that would cover what she was trying to hide as far as her supplies and things. But yet they still told her, well, you look like a lady, and because they had done her hair up nice, and
I'm sure to her she was very dressed up for her. I mean,
right. Yeah, I was gonna say, but she chose the most comfortable thing she could to wear, and she had. I guess, did we skip over the fact that she had concealed the?
No, she hasn't really got to that yet.
We hadn't got to that yet. Okay, I'm sorry.
Welcome in, VP.
I'm kind of farther ahead than all of you guys, so I'm trying to remember exactly what's in what chapter. So
yeah, no spoilers.
I stayed on point on the 2 chapters I was supposed to read. I read.
Yeah. I've been reading on my own since I haven't been really on the show.
Well, see, what's going to happen now is is Yachty here? No, she can't be here. What's going to happen now is Yachty's going to say, well, Russ read ahead, so I'm going to read ahead, because she's dying to read ahead.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
All right. So she gets into the church, and it was as she had hoped. Unoccupied. She looks in the pews, empty. She grins, tosses her parasol into the cast-off clothing for the poor box, hoists up her skirts above her knees, and dashes for the back door. In my mind, I'm thinking, where's the rest of her stuff? Like, she can't just go in her dress, because in the movie it makes it look like she just takes off in just her dress, from what I remember. Well, she goes down a twisted path, worn between the tottering headstones. There waited her bicycle, hidden in the hedge where I had left it yesterday, or rather yesternight, in the small hours of the light of a nearly full moon. So
she's
got
been
really
very
adventurous.
busy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, she was devising. So she mounts her bicycle.
She's smart. She's very clever.
Yes. On her bicycle, here we go, Russ. On her bicycle were mounted 2 containers, a basket in front and a box in back, both packed full sandwiches, pickles, now I'm hungry, hard-boiled eggs, water, flask, bandaging in case of an accident, tire repair kit, knickerbockers, there's the knickerbockers, my comfortable old black boots, toothbrush, and such. Okay, she listed a lot of things. I can't imagine what the and such is, but okay. On my person also were mounted 2 containers hidden beneath the taupe suit, and one in front and one in the back. The one in front was quite a unique bust enhancer that I had secretly had hand sewn for myself out of materials purloined from Mum's wardrobe. For the container in back, I devised a dress improver of like sort. So now she gets the idea. She understands why her mother left home. She wore her bustle, yet the horsehair stuffing was behind. She understands now why her mother
Mom
left.
snuck out too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
With all of her goods.
Yeah, to put baggage in necessary places where she was going to need it.
Yeah.
Her various proper regulators, enhancers, and improvers remained at Ferndale Hall. Stuffed up my chimney, she says, actually. So so the stuff that she's supposed to be having inside the dress and stuff, she properly stuffs up the chimney. That's going to be interesting when the warm weather comes, if she's not home and they have to light the fireplace. But anyways, so she hops on her bicycle, letting the petticoat and skirts modestly drape her ankles. She pedals off cross country. Now we're gonna.
Which I was just going to say, that's a thing that you didn't do back then, was to show your petticoat.
Yeah.
Because that's like showing off your underwear.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. But this.
Because who wants to show off their underwear?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, you don't. Well, never mind. I won't go there.
I couldn't imagine who would want that.
Yeah, I can't either. I don't know that he had any on, so I can't say that.
Although, like, any thoughts before we continue on her adventure?
I thought she was very creative. I mean, she figured out ways to sneak all this out without anybody being none the wiser.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was trying to think of things that she didn't mention that I would have. Of course, I would have taken it to be different, but I'm surprised she didn't take a knife or a sword or a cane kind of thing to protect.
Where's she going to hide a sword?
Not a cane. They carried canes.
Oh my goodness! We got Tim. The girl's walking around with a sword. What's like kind of broadsword, cross sword, nunchucks. I mean,
what? She could have strapped it to her bike. She could have.
She could have walked out with a cane, like her bumper shoot. She could have kept it for. I mean, she's pretty smart. I would have thought she'd kept something for self protection. I really did. I mean,
you also got to remember that this girl doesn't know about protection.
She knows a little bit because she knows Sherlock was a known one stick.
That is correct,
fighter.
But she doesn't. I think this girl.
Well, no, she hasn't been taught.
Where is she going, and how to protect herself? She's never had to protect herself, unlike Sherlock, who is dealing with people who would eventually try to hurt him.
Hey, welcome in.
This is not Petticoat Junction.
The whole idea is that she doesn't know self-defense.
Well, okay, I guess she doesn't.
She probably wasn't raised to this.
Hey, Matt.
I give her a lot of credit for being
in the movie they say, or they talk about that she does, but in the book she doesn't. She hasn't had that kind of a training because her mom teaches her in the movie how to fight. and
Yeah.
and how to protect herself. And
See,
self-defense,
crazy. See,
but not in the book. The book does not say
You got to
no.
remember that the
You're
movie's
over here.
taking liberties.
Yes.
true, very much.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
anyway, some of us haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't know about that.
Yeah. All right.
And again, because I've read ahead, that comes into play later. So, but
yeah, I wondered if they put it in. Okay, I wondered. Okay.
well, the fact that she doesn't know how to fight. So
No more
Gotcha.
spoilers.
nope.
Okay. So she hops on her bicycle and she's off. Woohoo! So she says, by tomorrow, I imagine my brother, the great detective Sherlock, would be attempting to locate a missing sister as well as a missing mother. He would expect me to flee from him. Therefore, I would not. I would flee towards him. He lived in London, so did Mycroft, on that account, and also because it was the world's largest and most dangerous city. It was the last place on earth either of them would expect me to venture. Therefore, I would go there. They would expect me to disguise myself as a boy. Very likely they had heard. No, never mind. I'm not going to bring that up because that's in the movie. Very likely they had heard about my knickerbockers. And anyway, in Shakespeare and other works of fiction, runaway girls always disguise themselves as boys. Therefore, I would not. So she's going in dressed as a grown woman.
Which she's
End of
not very
chapter.
big, so
No.
She used other areas to
I was
fill
just gonna
out
say,
and hide her
she-
stuff.
well, I
She
know.
had her enhancers. So
True.
that's the way she's able to. And then too, the fact that she's wearing a veil, you can't see her face,
Mhm.
or at least her whole face. So
Well, I kept thinking nobody's going to believe she's a widow because she talks about that in the next chapter, I believe.
but even you also got to think of they married young.
Well,
then,
that's true. We talked about that last week.
Sometimes it's like 12 years old they marry, and it's crazy. So, but that's so it could be a widow by then,
Yeah.
Gina, what do you think? You've been quiet. We've all talked over you, I think.
Oh no, I mean, no, it's good. I was listening because I definitely, whatever, I was thinking everything that was said. I thought of exactly the same thing. I mean, I think when I read the part where it said that she was basically doing everything they would expect her not to do, I thought that she kind of maybe had a little bit more in common, not personality-wise, but like Sherlock, because it's almost like she's trying to reverse psychology type of thing on them, and I think Sherlock was somewhat like that.
I think it seems like when they came and I thought she had more of an affection or feelings for her brother Sherlock versus Mycroft. He was kind of the stick in the mud. Sherlock was different, even though Sherlock treated her like crap, I thought, but I mean, just like Mycroft, but she seemed to have more respect for him for what he did. So that makes sense.
Sherlock is the famous one of the family, and so she knows all of his cases, and she's interested in the same things that he is because the mom was, and was very much into that, and really, again, I'm going to the film. They talk about in the film how she also influenced Sherlock quite a bit.
Yeah, I kind of gathered that too.
But they don't really touch on that here. They don't touch on how much of a mom she was to the boys because they're already grown and gone. It's more about how she's raising Enola. But to me, I gather that after the father dies, she's the one that inspires them to do what they do. Whereas Mycroft is more like the father, Sherlock is more like the mother, and so is Enola. And so, I think it's funny though too that she just automatically thinks, well, by tomorrow, like the entire country is going to be looking for me, and they probably don't even are going to know that she's gone,
Well, so far nobody's come chasing after her that we know of. So I wondered about that too.
Yeah.
What's nice about this chapter is you get the mind. You get the Sherlock mind or a young Sherlock mind. Because while not as honed as Sherlock, you could see how a young Sherlock would have started thinking.
Yeah.
granted, you got Sherlock who has a little bit more of experience with the real world. You have this girl where she's got that analytical mind. They expect me to go this way, I'm going this way. They expect me to do this, I'm doing this. I mean, she doesn't have that whole. Granted, I'm assuming Sherlock's probably like thinking 3 steps ahead of what she is. She's got that 1 step, or maybe 2 steps ahead of where they're going to be thinking, where Sherlock pretty much thinks 5 to 6 steps ahead of everything. So I think while you see how smart she is, you see almost the same analytical mind that you could have seen in a young Sherlock or Minecraft.
Hey, Kelly, Mickey Bunch, welcome in. And somebody said Yottie's here, is she? Did you make it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There. Hey, Yachty.
Yeah, they both been here.
Oh,
They
okay.
just been kind of quiet. So,
Well, I knew Yachty said she wasn't sure she'd make it. So, yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think that's what you're seeing here in this, which is, I guess, a logical course for a writer to do if she wants to create the younger sister of Sherlock Holmes, maybe. But they're probably a little closer in age, although I can't remember if they ever told the split. I mean, she's 14, but they're in their 30s or something, I think. Because there was a big split between her and them. That's why she always felt like she was such an embarrassment to the whole family. Okay, we going to chapter 8 here?
Sure.
Chapter 8 gets good, too. I mean, things really start moving here.
Yeah.
For
Jeff
her.
C., welcome in. Good to see you. Ninja watching while working. Joined to show support for you all and maybe learn something. Excellent stream. Thank you, Jeff, so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
We enjoy you being here. So, Ninja
He didn't learn nothing when I hosted.
I'm sure he did. I don't know. Did they say the mom was in her 60s? I don't think it was the 60s.
She does. She's in her 60s.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
okay.
that makes sense.
Oh.
She had Enola. She's about 64 because I think she had Enola at 50.
50? Wow, that was old for that day and age.
Oh, wow.
I mean, really old for back then. I mean, that was.
Well, they talk about she's kind of the surprise. She wasn't necessarily supposed to be born.
I don't think. I just don't know that she was such a disappointment to everybody. But anyway.
But she's not the disappointment. She thinks she was.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, that's what
for her, she just assumed that everybody looked at her as a disappointment because, one, she was a late stage in life baby. Her brothers never came around, not knowing that it was another way. And when we're talking, the mom is in her 60s, it's never brought up on how old her father was.
True.
Because while her father could have, if her mother was in her like 64, her brothers are probably in their 30s, or I think they were in their 30s. How young was the mom when she had those kids? How old was the father? So we really don't know how old the father is. Again,
right. And it wasn't unusual for the husbands to be older than the wives, so we don't know when they were married.
Right. All right. Chapter 8. Are we ready? We might not be able to finish the entire chapter, so do we still want to go through it?
I don't know. We got 15 minutes. We need to talk about this or do it.
Okay.
I think we can get through it.
All right. All right.
We like to talk, Russ.
We'll see how far we get. Chapter the 8th.
How far or how far?
Chapter the 8th says, I could have pedaled straight into London by the main road, but she decides not to. Too many people would see her. She tries to stay undercover. She takes back roads through the grassy fields, a path that she could find. And she would dine upon cheese and bread, and she would sleep in the open like a gypsy and eventually wandering along, I would encounter a railway, she says. By following it one way or another, I would find a station. So as long as it was not Chaucelia, which was where her brothers would surely inquire for her, any station in England would do, for all railways ran to London. So she's trying to get far enough that she can catch a railway that's not the closest to where her brother would be looking for her. So much for a 17-inch waist, oatmeal for breakfast, and wool next to the skin, matrimonial prospects, the accomplishments of a young lady, etc., etc. So she's just thinking, she says, so much were my happy thoughts as I pedaled across a cow pasture, along grassy lane, and then onto open moorland and away from the countryside I knew. I love the description. She hears the larks that sang above her, over in the blue sky overhead made her heart sing. Occasional farmer looks up from his turnip field and isn't surprised to see her because I guess women are starting to ride bikes and stuff around and increasingly it's becoming increasingly common. And I love this quote. She's talking about a woman that she stumbled upon. She looked all of a glow from the heat and the exercise. And she says, horses sweat, and men perspire, whereas ladies glow. I love that so much. And she says, I am sure I looked of all aglow also. So
I always thought women said they glistened.
Glistened.
So,
yes.
Instead of sweat.
It's true. All right. So she takes a break and she eats her lunch. After she eaten, she forces herself to get back on the bicycle because she thinks maybe I could just take a nap. And then she's like, no, because they'll come searching for me. I got to get out of here as quick as possible. So she that afternoon, aptly enough, considered my thoughts of gypsies. I met with a caravan of the nomad folk in their brightly painted round-topped horse wagons. So she's passing by the gypsies. She's waving hi. She's not afraid of them because her mother used to let gypsies stay at the house upon passing and whatnot, and so she's just kind of accustomed to them and used to them. And the little kids are the men darkly ignored me, but some of the bareheaded, bare-necked, bare-armed women waved back, and all the ragged children waved and squealed and called out begging. So that afternoon on the country road, she's talking about all the people that she's met along the road. And of course, I'm trying to do the Cliff's Notes version of this. So, whoops, I got a next page. She sees the wayfarers. She sees, then nighttime comes. So she's looking for a place, and she walking down upon turf cropped by the roots by sheep. Pushing my bicycle and leaning upon it, I struggled up a low limestone studded hill. Go ahead, Russ.
That one of the people that she meets, she meets a peddler and she gets her carpet bag, which is important. So just
that's right. Forgot about that. What is a carpet bag, by the way?
So it's you know how the bag that Mary Poppins carries?
Yeah,
it's a carpet bag.
It's a bag that holds stuff. It's like a suitcase, but it's a cheap suitcase.
It's made out of cloth or heavy cloth. Could be like carpet cloth for that matter.
Yeah,
back then, or a rug. Well, been a rug.
It's just a big bag that she can carry your stuff in.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So she huddles under the collapsed herself in the dirt of last year's leaves. Her spirits low with the evening as they had been high with the morning. For I wondered, would I find strength to get on that bicycle again tomorrow? So then she's thinking, what if it rains now? And so she's starting to think maybe her plan isn't as well planned out as she thought. She's having doubts. So.
Well, it's dark. That's what happens when it gets dark. You start thinking.
Yeah.
And she's tired.
And yeah.
I could imagine she's exhausted. I mean, she's traveled all day long. She's never done that before. She's bound to be worn out.
Right. So
welcome in, Keith,
falls
and welcome
asleep.
in, Jesse.
Oh, Tracy, what'd you say?
Welcome in, Keith. Welcome in, Jesse.
Oh. Hey, guys.
Hey, Keith. Hey, Jesse.
Welcome in.
Big Disney fan.
So she falls asleep, but not for long. Her nocturnal habits had become. All right.
She was used to staying up late.
Yeah.
Thank you. Why am I not reading this? Like, what? So nocturnal had my habits become. That's why I was like, wait a minute, that's not reading like it should.
Kind of like chapter the 8th.
Yeah. She's wide awake and she's hungry, but she can't see anything. And she left the matches inside the place where the food is. And she's thinking that she's a big dope because of it.
Which is somewhere there in the woods with her. She just can't remember where. Can't find it.
Because the moon's not out because it's cloudy. And she's like, it probably is going to rain. And so she can't find anything. So she looks up and she actually sees gas lamps, which indicate maybe not a village, but maybe a town, because towns could have the gas lamps because they were bigger and maybe could afford it, I'm going to guess, is what I'm guessing. And even as I thought it, there came floating to my ears across the dark night a train whistle. So she's realizing we've got a train. We got a town here. So
Well, that's what she was looking for. She was looking for a way to get on the train. So
yeah,
but she didn't want to go to the next town over,
right?
Because they thought that that's where she would go. So she cut cross country and went to.
Well, somebody may have known her there.
Went to a different town. Right. So
yeah. So she says the very early next morning. She gets up. She proceeds. She leaves the bicycle, I think, right, and she just takes herself.
Apparently.
Well, she changes
she's
clothes.
Upset that she's upset that she has to leave her bicycle because that was her mode of transportation, and that's what she was used to. She's now getting into uncharted territory.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's getting into the point. She's dressed herself up as that widow. Mm-hmm. She's got the black dress on. She's got the boots on, the black boots on. She's got the nondescript. So she's trying to look as nondescript as possible. Then she also had put on black gloves because she wouldn't have a wedding ring to show if she had bare hands. Right. So she's got the outfit going. So now she's walking into town.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of commotion that's going to be happening. So she gets in and wow, we're ahead a few pages. Hold on. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's she sees was the police train car pull up, I think it is. Is that what that was? Scotland Yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's all this hustle and bustle that's going on, and she's going to find out why. So there's a newsboy, and he's shouting, "Shocking kidnapping, and read all about it." And so her ears perk up, and she's like, "Kidnapping?" Now, did I leave anything out that anybody wants to go back? I mean, there's sights and sounds.
I was going to say, they kind of describe the town that she's in, but it's nothing major. It's just, it reminds me of the opening of Beauty and the Beast.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of it does.
Yeah.
But, I mean, technically, the only time she's really interested in about the kidnapping, like she wasn't looking for it. She said kidnapping, and it perked her up because she thinks they're talking about her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To come to find out that it wasn't talking about her, and she said, well, she's still on her goal to get her train ticket to go to London.
Yeah.
At this point.
Well, I just figured out what Belvedere Tonsorium meant. I didn't know what. I thought that was a sign for the town, but Tonsorium means like clippers, so it's a barbershop.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I had to look that up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she's looking at the street signs to figure out where she's at. That she's in Belvedere. So,
for she is a mere girl of limited cranial capacity, which she pointed out again.
Mm-hmm. So she does want to read all about this.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and then she finds out about the Tewksbury kid, Viscount Tewksbury, snatched from Basil Hall. It's not Basil Weather or whatever.
Basil Weather.
Yeah. And so let's see. A gawking crowd gathered. A number of constables formed a line to keep the onlookers back, while yet more officials in blue uniforms strode forward to meet the newly arrived train. Labeled the Police Express. Let me see. So
she also finds out she dodged a bullet because Sherlock had been invited, but he could have been on the train too.
Yeah, she overhears the conversation, and it says, they sent for Sherlock Holmes. Oh my goodness. Halting eagerly, I listen, but he won't come. He's called away by family. And then it cuts off, and she's like, "Oh, confound it!" She wants to hear what the rest of this person was gonna say. So then she hears the banter from some of the people in the town saying, "My cousin's the second assistant upstairs, maid at the big house. The Duchess has gone clean out of her head." So all this little gossip that's going on about the family that of the Viscount that's been gone missing. So they're like, who'd want the boy if not for ransom? So the plot's thickening. She says, I saw. It would seem that the shocking kidnapping had taken place close by. Indeed, watching the detectives pile into quite a lovely landau, I saw them being trotted off towards a green park not far beyond the railway station. Above the trees rose the gray Gothic towers. From the talk around me, Bayswater Hall. However, according to the large schedule posted upon, so she's thinking she wants to investigate but she's got to purchase a ticket. But then she's looking at the schedule and sees that there's like a train coming and going to London very frequently. So I think she's thinking she might have more time, is my guess. Well, no, so Duke's son gone missing, read all about it, is what the newsboy is saying. And she says, well, no believer in Providence, I had to wonder how chance had placed me here on this scene of crime, and my brother the greatest detective elsewhere. My thoughts became unruly and their lure irresistible. Abandoning my attempt to reach the ticket window, I bought a newspaper instead. That's ends the chapter.
I love that because she's all about the entire time she's been okay. I've got to get away.
Yeah.
And as soon as she comes upon this case, because Sherlock couldn't be there, it's like, well, I'm a Holmes. I can figure this out.
Yeah.
And so she immediately, because the game's afoot, and instead of following her plan, she now is gonna go investigate, which she's a Holmes, so
yeah, it's in her blood.
Mm-hmm. It's in her blood.
Oh, all right. Any other thoughts?
Hi, Daniel. Hi, Nick. Some other people came in.
I
thought. Oh, go ahead, Gina.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, I wouldn't. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I don't think I expected it to for the story for her to mirror Sherlock. I think that was like meaning like that he's a detective and she's kind of like sort of like I mentioned before, kind of reversing. And I don't know, I didn't expect that. And I also thought that if they ever find out that all that money that they sent, she's basically been stowing away in different places, that wasn't what I expected. I just wish that maybe the mother would have said something like, I love you, or it's okay, what's gonna, I don't know. But yeah, so, but I totally didn't expect that twist. And it's kind of cool to have that because he is Sherlock. So it's,
But she's but because of her situation, she's a girl. She's younger than they are. She was raised by her mother, which they probably were too in large degree. But she's going to come at it from a different angle, I think. So she's got the inquisitive nature, the analytical thinking that Sherlock has, but she's also got a different perspective on things, which we'll find in the next chapter. Because I couldn't remember which chapter we were supposed to stop on, so I've read a little bit of that, but not all.
See, Tim, you went ahead too.
No, but it was an accident, though. It was an accident. I didn't mean to. I couldn't remember, and we were in the car listening. So what am I supposed to do? It's there. But that's about all I do know. But I mean, I get the feeling that she's like Sherlock, but she's not. So I don't think you're so far off. I do agree with Gina though on part of this. I'm really surprised because of how she talks about her mother, the fact that they lived together, the boys were gone, her mother took her on all those kind of local adventures and taught her in a different manner. I was surprised that her mother hasn't left her something other than just money, I guess. These little cryptic notes, but I guess we will, Tracy. That tells me Tracy knows something he's not saying.
I think, again, it is a giant surprise, the fact that her mom just up and leaves.
Well, that's true, too.
And I think that's why Enola wants to find her, because she thinks she might be in trouble.
Yeah.
And so she's more worried about her mom than upset. I mean, she's upset the fact that she just up and left, especially on her birthday, and she didn't say anything. And, but at the same time, she is discovering that she has left all these clues for her, which she knows that, her mom knows Enola can figure out. And so, that's that side of it too, to where then now Enola she's on this mission to find her mom, but she's also so much involved and she loves to investigate and figure these things out that now she's getting sidetracked. And that's another interesting thing, I think, is that it's now, okay, well, she was gung-ho on this mission and staying away from, boarding school and staying hidden from Sherlock and Mycroft. But now all of a sudden she's got to figure out what happened to this kid.
Yeah.
You know, so
So Katrina says, I'm wondering if there are more clues somewhere in the books. And my thought is it would have been cool if instead of her mother leaving her money, could have left her clues of where to find her, like a London clue, she's in London, or a Bath clue, she's in Bath, or something. But at the same time, we don't know. Maybe she is going to find more clues.
True.
That will.
We also don't know, and this was kind of, I've been mulling this over a little bit. Maybe her mother wasn't sure if she would be back. And so she left this in case she didn't get back. She did. I mean, she probably didn't. I mean, it's probably all planned, but she did say, if I'm not back in time, give her this. Maybe she thought she could be back, but she wasn't positive. So something could have happened. But I suspect that's not the case. I mean, it's just a possibility. While I'm thinking about, though, before we have to go, I did look up something. Because I had mentioned it, or Brenda and I had been talking about it because she's been reading the book and she was going to be here today, but she's had to get up too early. But anyway, there was a book called The Language of Flowers. And there are books that have been written about speaking with flowers, or what she always called it, what does she call it? Not the language of flowers, the meaning of flowers. So I looked that up to see, because Brenda said at one time there was a book like that. It was hard to get now because it's been out of print for so long. I think it's been reprinted. I just looked it up online to see. I was trying to remember that. So she keeps talking about that book. Such a book really has existed. It may still be out there. And they even talk. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that was her cipher. That was the way she was figuring out the clues.
Yeah, but I didn't know if that was made up for this story or if that was a real thing. And it is a real thing. So
I'm sure it's based on something the same. And yes.
And I was going to ask Gina something, and now I forgot what it was. That's what happens when you get 64. You can't remember those things. They pop in and they pop out like unwanted guests.
I got to get going because this studio is going to be used in about a half hour.
Yep.
No, Kenzie's coming.
All right, Russ, what do you got coming up? We'll go around the horn.
Well, I mean, I'm working on some video stuff. I don't have any plans yet as far as coming back as far as for streaming, but I'm working on some video stuff. I'll be around.
Okay.
All
right, awesome.
So still working on personal stuff. So.
Sweet. All right, guys, go check out Russ. What in the World with Russ, my partner channel. And Trace, what do you got coming up?
Kenzie in about a half hour, less than a half hour now, and not wasting time on Thursday.
More time travel.
More time travel.
And how many? Oh yeah. And how many days before you leave? I know it's not many.
I'm sure Kenzie will tell us.
Yeah,
she will. That's true.
Hers.
That's true. Never mind.
All right, and Gina, I know you don't have anything yet, correct?
Right. Yeah. I'm just looking for. I have several cameras, and I just want to see which one's gonna do the best. So how to set it up and just kind of figuring out these little logistics. So, but yeah.
And Tim, how about you?
Just the only given I've got right now is my coffee show Saturday. So Saturday morning I'll be doing that for a little while. Speaking of Kenzie Days.
Hello.
Yeah, she's ready to kick me out.
I am.
I think it's
set up my stream.
Coffee and Contemplation Week, so I'll have a relatively short show.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, buddy.
And, Wednesday, whateverness is going to be at 4:00 instead of 5:00 because we're going to go antiquing for Disney Treasures.
I'm looking forward to that one.
So I'm excited too. And I forgot I have a doctor's appointment at 2:30, so it's going to be a race for the clock. Race the clock, whatever. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you Wednesday. Have a great week, and know that you are loved and appreciated, and that you are a blessing. Think of a wonderful thought, any merry little thought. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.